Heyo, welcome to here. My name is Blaze Creek, leader of the Hapus and Abyssals. Now, over the past few months, I've been introducing my communities, their members, and other friends of mine to Massive Loop Metaverse in continually growing numbers, with more people showing interest and checking out the new social virtual reality platform that we've been working toward making the future home and hub of Abyssal and Hapu roleplay. Something I hope other groups can say, well, the same in the near future. But more importantly, somewhere more fun and safe than existing services, and a better experience for everyone. But most importantly, a place people could call their virtual home. So I thought having a video showcasing the account creation, download, setup process, and some common questions we've encountered would be a good idea as per the feedback we've received from happy hours. So here's what we're covering: making an account, the download and setup, launching/playing, in-game help/teeny, brief rundown of the HUD and what each button does, very brief mention of director mode since we've already covered it, very brief overview of the types of worlds/servers since we've technically already covered it, at least to a degree, brief look at the types of avatars commonly found in Massive Loop, quick mention of Unity, Blender, and how they're used, along with why Massive Loop isn't on Steam yet, and, small stuff like how to change your name, and my favorite part of the video, last but not least, a brief look at the creator economy, and more or less how it works. Now, the entire process of making an account, downloading, and playing takes less than 3 minutes. So let's start off by showing you how it's done. So a lot of you are going to be seeing this world a lot since it's the spawn world, and I thought it'd be fitting for the first two portions to take place in it. Now, making an account's pretty simple. First, open your browser and search Massive Loop or Massive Loop Metaverse. Now, after you've reached the website, on the top right of the landing page, you'll find sign in/register. Go ahead and click that. It'll take us to the sign in page where just below the big yellow sign in button in the middle of the screen, you'll see register new account. Click that next. From there, you'll need to create a username. Next, it'll want an email/Gmail, either or, and for you to enter it again on the box right below to confirm it's the correct email address. Now, after putting in your email, it'll want a date of birth, and you'll need to make a password as well. Once you've verified you aren't a robot, click register, then check the email that you used to make your account for an email from Massive Loop. You'll copy the code they sent you and click on the link in the email to then paste or enter the code you just copied. You should be either logged in or good to log in at this point. So good job, you've made an account, which means I'll show you the download and setup next. It's really hard to miss the giant download button at the top of the website, but hey, apparently it happens sometimes. So go ahead and click download. Then on the right side of the page, you'll see the Massive Loop logo with Metaverse Browser Launcher linked right below it. Now click that. And after it's finished downloading, open or execute the launcher. I always recommend installing Massive Loop to an SSD or NVMe SSD so you can have the best experience possible with load times, but honestly, you'll be just fine installing it on a typical hard drive. It's pretty well optimized in terms of avatar and world loading times. Now, make sure you look over the user agreement when you get to that part. You'll have to click that you've read through it to continue the setup. And while it's installing, I'll also show you something else that was requested. How do you change your in-game name? To say it's easy is, well, that's an understatement. You just go to your user profile, as shown, go to your display name, and change it. Now, loading, whether that's for the first time or swapping worlds, usually takes under 30 seconds, but that's literally it. That's how fast and easily you can start playing or using Massive Loop. Now, once you actually get into the game, your client's launched and loaded, I want you to press the F1 key if you're on desktop or even if you're in VR. So first thing, that'll spawn Teeny. They're a helpful little robot that gives you some basic information like the control scheme, microphone check, and it'll tell you about your settings. Now, Teeny's adorable, and I think you're a really bad person if you say otherwise. It's a cute little robot, and it helps out. So let's talk about servers and then worlds next. Servers are collections of worlds and avatars with their own rules. Your own server gives you control over which avatars are approved, member acceptance, creator restrictions, age restrictions, and a lot more. You could think of them as virtual sites in a way, being a really useful tool for communities, groups, and advanced users, along with companies that want to deliver high-quality experiences for their communities or audience. Right now, there are a few that you can explore, with plenty of interesting and unique content to discover, with more servers being worked on by members of the community like myself. Now, worlds. There are chill worlds, hangout worlds, game worlds, clubs, exploration-based worlds, extremely beautiful and unique, insanely creative places. There's unimaginable types of worlds out there that you can experience yourself in Massive Loop. Whether it's something beautiful and serene, a chill experience, or a cool game world, Massive Loop really does offer a lot of different experiences for people to try. Whether you want to go play a pew pew bang bang shoot 'em up type game, or you just want to experience nature in the virtual world, there's plenty of options and plenty of cool things to see. Now, we've covered avatars a couple of times technically, so we're not going to go deep into the subject matter. But there are a lot of different types of avatars available on the main server for Massive Loop. So whether you want something cute, you're looking for a furry avatar, something anime, something artistic, something realistic, or maybe even goofy or just unique. It could even be normal. There's so many different options available for you to use, made by members of the community, people who play the game, like yourself, who create these avatars for other people to experience and enjoy, so you can, well, portray yourself or be whoever you want to be and however you want to be. Whether you're a furry, you like anime, hell, even if you're an e-person, there's avatars for just about everyone. So we're going to talk about the HUD and how it works, but first we're going to talk about director mode. And I say that because we're not going to talk about director mode. I have already made a video about it, which covers it pretty extensively. So that little icon that's on the screen, go check it out. Now, while saying that, let's start with contacts, since it's really straightforward to be entirely fair. You can invite people to worlds from it, use it to create a party and add people as a friend, see who you recently played with and your friend requests, who you've blocked, and people currently in your party. So it's a pretty useful little tool. While saying that though, something I find really interesting is events. So depending on which server you're currently in, this will look a little different, but you can see scheduled activities / events through this tab, allowing you to easily find information about what's going on in that server. So here's a good example. On the 12th, we had a dance connection, which you can see displayed, and a happy hour on the 1st. Now, I think it's a super cool and useful tool to keep everyone up to date with both Massive Loop's activities and whichever server you happen to be playing on. So, alerts is pretty self-explanatory. It's your current notifications, so, you know, your friend requests and world invites, they're going to show up there. So, chat. It's a chat. You can chat with your party, the world, or friends via the in-game chat feature, allowing for both privacy and open conversation where you otherwise might not be able to communicate, like I almost just did. So the camera, it's a camera. It does camera things. Now, the web browser is pretty interesting when you aren't shoving random letters into the search bar. But we're not going to go too in-depth in that feature, since I don't use it a lot. Hi, Blaze from the future here. Something went wrong with this portion of the video, but basically we're looking at the personal mirror, which you can find in the main menu in apps. And then we're looking at the player locator, which is basically a little compass that tells you if people are nearby, their position north, west, south, east, and you can also request a teleport. We're not going to look at director mode. We've already briefly covered it here, and I've made a video dedicated to it in the past. So I think the next thing after that to bring up would be voice FX. It allows you to modulate how your voice sounds, basically modify how you sound. Changing your pitch, whether that's up or down, modulation so you sound like a robot. It's a premium account feature and it's pretty cool. Now, OSC allows for interaction between the game and different applications. It's a little beyond my knowledge. It's really useful for avatars and worlds, but I've never developed with it and it's a little beyond me. Now, you can moderate people's voices, changing higher, lower, and so on and so forth, giving you the ability to, if somebody's too quiet, you can change it. Somebody's too loud, you can fix it. It's pretty nice. But anyway, we're going to move on and we should talk about Unity and Blender. So let's get to it. So Massive Loop's game engine is Unity. For those of you who are familiar with virtual reality creation, pretty much everything creation related is usually put together, or rather finalized, and uploaded to Massive Loop using Unity. Most virtual reality related projects use Unity. Now, avatars and worlds are made by other people, usually using Unity and Blender. Now, other applications exist like Vroid Studio, I guess technically Vive Avatar Creator's mobile app, and Ready Player Me are cool for making yourself or a unique character in different styles. But, or if you want to make something fairly simple yourself. Now, there are plenty of external applications that can make avatar creation a lot easier for those of us who have trouble with, or just a lack of time to learn Unity or Blender. But there's an even much easier option that I'm really guilty of that we'll bring up shortly. Now, we won't be going in depth on the creation process, as outside of world creation, I'm slower than a turtle trying to climb a mountain. I know how worlds work extremely well, and, well, avatars, on the other hand, break my brain because of how often I break them. Now, the next three topics cover similar subjects and carry a lot of overlap since they're all relatively related. So let's talk about accounts real quick. There are two types, standard and premium. The major differences between standard and premium aren't game impacting or mess with the user experience. The majority of the differences are centered around the economy, as is being shown. A display name without the extra little tidbit added on, and premium apps like director mode and voice FX. Things that ultimately don't make or break a user's experience, and not having, which, keeps everyone as equal as possible in the most fair way. I think you could realistically do it, in my opinion. So with premium instead of standard, you get your own server, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. We've already talked about how they work, but I really like that. It's cool. Everything else shown is centered around MLCN, Massive Loop's creator network, which in all honesty, the economy needs its own dedicated video. It's quite literally the best place to sell avatars and, well, functional assets in terms of creator profits. And the systems that make it possible are quite interesting and expansive enough of a topic that realistically should be explored in, further depth, and especially compared to pre-existing competitors at a future time. But for now, let me explain how it works in a general sense and why I adore their system over other platforms. So we're going to briefly go over Massive Loop's economy. We're not going to be able to go in super depth, but that'll have to be a video of its own. Now, in terms of supporting creators, Massive Loop will give sellers the highest percent of a revenue split when compared to other social platforms and even 3D model and avatar distribution services. So supporting creators through Massive Loop ultimately means the person you're buying from earns 80%. Most places normally give around 50% for their revenue split back to creators. Saying that's good when compared to how the majority of revenue splits currently go would be an understatement. It should be the industry standard how Massive Loop does it. Now, they give users the ability to directly support their favorite creators as well, whether that's by buying or, if you're the creator, selling avatars or assets through the platform. It's pretty awesome and saves people a lot of time if they want something unique but don't have the ability or time to create it themselves. Whether that's an asset for a world, an avatar, it's really boundless. Now, there's an entire wallet system as well, allowing people to buy other people's creations, sure, but you can also support creators or other users by tipping them with credits that convert to actual money. So, other things you can do as well. You can set up a subscription service. You can, honestly, there's a lot of things that you can do in Massive Loop's economy, and I think you should just explore it yourself or wait until a dedicated video comes out for it. So I think the biggest question that we get asked in general is, why isn't Massive Loop on Steam? It's a question that I've asked myself before as well. Now, there is a lot they have to consider. There are legitimate concerns about how putting Massive Loop onto Steam would affect the platform's direction and development, but also the income of the community and creators. Most VR platforms and other companies usually give the creator selling a model, world, or asset around 50% of the revenue income. Some places do more, some do less, but the majority of the time it'll be 50%. Now, Massive Loop does 80% back to the seller. Steam might want a portion of that revenue source, which would decrease the overall, income source of creators or sellers by upwards of 30%, which none of us want that to happen. As the system currently stands, it's quite literally what I dreamed to be the industry standard before I knew about Massive Loop. And the way it's handled is more than fair. Steam might mess a lot of that up if Massive Loop isn't careful and hyper aware of the factors, bleeding into the situation. Now, where other platforms might cede to external corporate overreach, Massive Loop has a near-perfect economy, and they already have the systems in place to support it, completely removing the need for a lot of what Steam has to offer outside of hosting the platform's store page. Now, we in general want to be as careful as possible when it comes to Steam. It's not as easy of a call as it might sound to put a game or platform onto Steam. Now, that's for a myriad of reasons. Myself and a few of my community staff have been looking into getting it onto Steam outside of Massive Loop's efforts, of course. And frankly, it's a lot. Straightforward for the most part, but the monetary aspects are where it really gets confusing. What you have to and don't have to use isn't really clear to us. How or what Massive Loop would have to change, what portions of Steamworks would we have to use, it's extremely important to me as a community leader and someone who's heavily connected with various creators that, everything is fair for the big three main parties. That being the creators who are selling their time and work, the everyday user looking to buy something that interests them, and the host platform, in this case, Massive Loop. Which is a reason I'm glad they've taken their time before rushing to getting Massive Loop onto Steam. Getting the best outcome and experience for everyone is a lot more worthwhile than a rushed project that overly relies on resources they never needed, or create a needless drain on the economy because of hard to understand platform taxes that cut into everyone's revenue. Short-term solutions rarely lead to long-term success. And quite frankly, for something with as much potential as Massive Loop, I'd rather them take every precaution and understand exactly what they're getting themselves into, and, well, us as well. Hey, before we ended this, I wanted to mention that the night this video comes out, I'll be live streaming, building the Massive Loop Mayhem Hot Wheels set that Massive Loop sent me. I'm sure most of you won't understand why that's a thing or the meme, but that's okay. It's gonna be fun. So also be on the lookout for more videos coming very soon. I've got a few in the pipeline now that things are starting to settle down in my real life. And I've been stepping down from or delegating existing projects, a lot of them anyway, not all of them. So I don't get too stressed out trying to juggle everything. I oversee a lot of communities. It's more than I can count on my hands if you count the projects that are included in them. But it's getting worked out pretty well. So thanks everyone for watching, and I hope I was able to help anyone having trouble or, just didn't know how you could hop on and play Massive Loop. Maybe I even answered some of your questions about how the platform works. Just, know you're appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.